Can you hear me,
Yeah,
Minaz?
we are live. Yeah, we are live now.
Can you hear me?
Do we start? Yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do we start?
I don't know. Do we start, Sharad? When do we know we're going to start? Just let us know when we start. All right. Yeah, start, Minaz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Javinder, start.
Yeah, Minaz is not online, yeah. I don't know why he's gone off, so I'm waiting for him.
Javinder, start.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Minaz. He's not online. Minaz? Hi, everyone. If you can hear me, just a little startup niggles. Minaz is just coming online, and we'll start as soon as he comes on. Just give us a few minutes. Yeah, so hi everyone. Again, just waiting for Minaz to log on, and we'll start immediately. There is some startup issue and should be sorted out soon. Yes, I got my first comment from Guinea. Yes, we can hear you. I'm glad you can hear me. So just a couple of minutes. And hi to the Lakshmi Kennel too. Hi Priya. I hope this is a fruitful session. As soon as Minaz logs on, we'll start from there. Let me just make a call and see what's happening. Priya, you need a video on Labrador Retriever? Sure, but it's Dogman today, so yeah, hi Minaz. So can you hear me, Minaz? Yeah. We are live, Minaz, you can start.
You hear him, right?
I can't hear him at all.
So, well, I can hear you, Minaz. Hello? Hi Lalraj, how are you? So good to see you online too. Yeah, so Priya, I would love to talk about a Labrador Retriever too, but today is Dobermans, and well, if they do call me for Labrador Retrievers, I'll definitely talk about Labrador Retrievers too. Or you can always uh, message me or mail me if you want anything specific, or you can call me up, and I'll definitely talk about a Labrador Retriever too.
Hello.
Hi Manaz, are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
No, we're all on live, and everyone's live, and they're waiting for you. So you can start.
Okay. Yeah, start
Yeah.
now.
Yes, please.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you, wherever you may be, and especially to Doberman lovers. We have a great program this evening. We have with us none other than Mr. Javinder Singh Pawar from Bangalore, the man who's put the Doberman on the map for India, as far as India is concerned. We'll talk about all his exploits and everything later, but let me just first say that I'm your host, Minaz Qasim, and technical expertise is provided by Ms. Saloni Jain of Dogspot. And we thank Mr. Sharat Sharma, Mr. Rana Teya for having us on the show. Javinder, let's start at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews said. The Doberman is a genetically created breed. And could you give us details on how the Doberman came to be, when, where, and why?
Well, the Doberman is named after Louis Doberman, and he was born, I think, in the beginning of the 18th century in Germany, and he grew up to be a tax collector. So while being a tax collector, he thought he wanted a dog, which is a strong dog, because he used to travel with money those days, and he had German Pinschers with him, and they were aggressive and they were good, but they were a little too small for him. So he wanted to mix a few breeds and try and bring out a dog which had been a good guard dog, watchdog. And so then there are different theories to it, but the most commonly known one is that he used a Rottweiler, he used a German Pinscher, a Rottweiler, he used Great Dane, a Weimaraner, they said, was used, and that's where we get the dilution from. And so mixing all these breeds, he bought out the Doberman, and so that's how it started. And it was basically started to be a watchdog and a protection dog. So that's a brief history of the Doberman. Yeah, can you hear me, Minaz? Yeah. Yeah, so that's so then in the beginning they did get the wavy coats from Rottweilers and stuff, and everything was slowly spread out until he came out with a proper Doberman breed. And this, in turn, in the beginning of the 19th century, was exported to America. I think they got their first Dobe then, and that is the brief history of the Doberman. Yeah, Minaz, can you hear me? Okay, I guess.
Well, we seem to be
Yeah.
having a lot of connectivity problems, but we will carry on, and we apologize for the poor quality. If there are any interruptions, please bear with us. Carry on, Javinder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I just spoke to everyone about the how Louis Donald Doberman created the Doberman, and it was named after him. They called it the Doberman dog. So I finished with that question, Minaz. You can move on to the next one.
Yeah, right. So obviously you did mention that the country of origin is Germany,
Yes.
right? And you have also encapsulated what the purpose of creating a dog like the Doberman and why he was created.
Yes.
Okay, so that means that he makes an excellent watchdog, guard dog, and a personal protector.
Yes.
Right?
But
okay, now let's carry on.
I think he's moved on since. I think a Doberman, from the time, for the reason why he was created, he's moved on from there. And at this point of time, he also makes a. We'll come to that later, but he makes a fantastic family dog and stuff. So we'll move on to that.
We will in the segment temperament. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the appearance. What is the ideal size of a Doberman?
The Doberman was always meant to be a medium-sized dog. He didn't want it as chunky as a Rottweiler, neither too small. So a Doberman, we should always remember, is a medium-sized dog. So and the ideal size for the Doberman male is 27.5 inches tall. That's for the male, and a female is 25.5 inches. But it can go up by an inch here and there. You do have some larger size dog, but if you ask me for the ideal size, is 27.5 for males and 25.5 for bitches, females.
So what you said is we don't want the Doberman as a chunky dog, right? Or like the Rottweiler or something. So obviously the first Dobermans were shorter, stockier, and not as good looking as the Dobermans today. So how did that change?
I think over time people bred it. It was relatively a new breed then, and they bred and they got better with time. And the weight for a Doberman is 40 to 45 kilos for the male and 35 to 40 for a bitch, a female. So we try and stay around there. More than 45 gets chunky. And then with the breeding and with good breeders around the world, they kept the size to that, and so 40 to 45 is the ideal weight for a male, and 30 to 35 is for a female.
Okay, so we've got that down. Now let's go on to the color of the Doberman.
Yes.
What is the color? Yeah.
Yeah. So the colors, the Dobermans, when they first started off, it was a black Doberman. He bred black, but we got blacks and browns. The black being the ideal color because it camouflaged itself in the night, and it was, and the darkness it could attack without any without being seen. So that was. But we do have blacks and browns in Dobermans are the two basic standard colors. We also have a dilution of a black, which is a blue, which is a diluted black, and we have a dilution of a brown, which is a fawn. So these are the four colors of a Doberman. Recently, we do come with a white Doberman, which is really a cream Doberman, which is a mutation. And that did happen, and there were breeders around the world who tried to breed for that, and to charge extra money for that. But we don't want that because the white Dobermans, they have issues with light, and they have. Then we also got the black Doberman, which was again a mutation. It was melanism. Now, melanism is the black when it's black, and albinism is when it's white. So they're two opposites. We do get them. They're very rare, and we stay away from them. But the four basic colors are black, blue, which is a dilution of black, brown, and fawn, which is a dilution of a brown. The accepted colors in Europe are just blacks and browns. They don't let you register the dilutions. But in America, you can register the blues and the fawns, and you can breed from them, and they can be shown. Yeah.
So how did we get the dilution of Blue and Isabella into the Doberman? Was it intentional, or it came about because there were different breeds bred inside into the Doberman, different that brought its various colors, like
Yeah,
to give it
yeah. Yeah.
to give the
That-
Doberman its sleekness, and
Yes.
to give it speed, and to give it
Yes.
raciness.
Yes.
There were many other breeds added, like the Greyhound was added at a
Yes.
certain time.
Yes.
So was the Weimaraner.
The Weimaraner. So
So-
they say the blues is
Yeah.
from there. So the dilution is from that Minas. So that's where the
Yes,
dilution
Huh.
has
but
come from.
why has FCI or Europe not allowed the Isabella, which is the Fawn, or
Fawn.
the Blue, or the Blue?
The reason they have is, now if you look at the coat of a black Doberman, now per square inch, if you look at the hair follicles on a black Doberman per square inch, they're the most dense for a black one, a little less dense for a brown one. The blues are less dense again, and the fawns are the least dense. So what happens is when you have less coat on you, then with extreme weather conditions of cold and heat, they get affected a lot more than a black and a brown would. So the FCI and the Europeans don't want to do that because they would just want a nice, strong Doberman. So they discourage those colors. But me, personally, if you ask me, I have no problem with the blue and a fawn, because the color in a Doberman, my opinion again, is a one generation change, because you do have a number one black male. If you use the number one black male at stud to a blue bitch or a fawn bitch, you will get all black puppies. So for me, I don't think it's that much of an issue. I have had dogs in the past who have had all four colors, and it is a one generation change. But like I said, in America, they can be shown, they win shows, and they make great pets. But in Europe, they discourage it.
Right. You said if you have a number one black male and you mate that male to another female, you'll
Yes.
get all blacks. Am
Yes.
I right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you mean by, for everybody to understand, what do you
Yes.
exactly mean by number one black?
Now, a number one black is, now if you go down, you have a black. You have, if you break it down, you have a two big B's. Now his genetic makeup is two big B's. Now if you move that, and brown will have a big B and a small. So it's genetics where he's a dominant black. So basically, I'll have to break it down, and that would take rather long. But basically, he's a dominant black. He has a dominant black gene in him. So in the first generation, he will throw all blacks. And you can have that in a bitch too. If you have a number one black bitch, you can put her to any color dog, and she will throw all black puppies too. Now you have a number two black dog who will throw blacks and blues. Then you have a number three and number four. Number four throws all colors. Number three throws only blacks and browns. So if you want details on that, you're free to mail me. I can speak to you all about it. But that going in depth in that will take us at least a good 15, 20 minutes at least, if not more. And we do have limited time.
Okay. We've touched upon the color genetics, but obviously, like you said, I think it would take much more than 15 to 20 minutes. It's a subject that you have to really go in depth into. And
Yes.
rightly so, we don't have sufficient time on this program. But tell me, briefly, what
Yes.
happens if you mate a black Doberman to a black Doberman? Do you get only blacks?
If the male is a dominant black, you get only black. But if they're both number three, you get blacks and browns. if they're number 4 black, you can mate a number 4 black male to a bitch who's the number 3 or number 4, and you can get all 4 colors. So from 2 black dogs, you can also get all 4 colors.
Okay, it is said that you mate a brown male to a brown female, and you will get
Yes.
only browns. Is that
You'll
right?
get only browns. Yes.
Why
You
is
will
that?
get only browns. That's again because of, if I break it down to Mendelism, it's the bees. So you make those and you will get only browns. That's what it is. If I have to break it down, I will have to explain on a chart because people won't understand. But brown to brown is only brown. And I just have a message. I have a comment from Sharat Sharma here, Minaz, which says, what is the standard for tan marking on a blue and fawn in the US? So a blue and fawn in the US, Sharat, is have the same marking. But obviously it's a lighter tan because it goes with the dilution. But the marking of the tan and the portions which have to be marked remain the same to a brown and a black, as per the standard. Yeah. All right.
Okay, let's go on to temperament, a very, very important aspect in the Doberman, as it should be in all dogs, but especially the Doberman. Is the Doberman considered a family dog, and what sort of pets do they make?
It's absolutely a family dog, especially now. At first, when they started with Dobermans, he was a guard dog, and he was meant for protection alone. But over years, as it's gone by, he is a family dog. He's great with kids. He protects the family. He's highly intelligent. He's trainable, very easy to look after. He doesn't have coat issues. I think he's an absolute family dog.
And how do they interact with children?
Well, they're very good with kids. Now, let me tell you, while judging shows in different parts of the world, I have been attacked by other breeds which are known to be a lot more friendlier too. I don't want to mention their names, but any breed which is not bred right, and any breed which is bred to dogs who have aggressive parents will be aggressive, whether it be a Golden Retriever, Labrador, Cocker Spaniels, any breed. So I think the important thing is where you meet a right breeder and you see that he breeds for temperament. And one thing more, again, the difference between, I'm sure you will come to that too, Minaz, a European dog and an American dog. The Americans have bred Dogmans in America for temperament and for dog shows. Now, what happens in Europe, you do have working lines and they breed them to work. Now, some of those working dogs are a little, I wouldn't say more aggressive, but they're a little stronger in their temperament than the dogs which are bred only for shows. So that's when you need a dog as a pet for the family, I think you need to approach a breeder and say, we want a dog as a pet and for a family or for shows. And a good breeder will guide you the right way.
There in Europe, dogs, Dobermans, and other breeds also are put through what they call a Schutzen test, as well as IPO. Now, doesn't that sort of training, shouldn't it rather make those dogs more stable temperament-wise?
I think stability in temperament you're born with, Minaz. That is again genetic. So dogs with parents who are bad-tempered will be bad-tempered unless they are socialized a lot. But usually that is the case. Now in Europe, yes, they do have dogs which are trained by the police and stuff, and they're very good with kids and everything. All of us trying to get at is when a dog is, if it's not trained, and if it is from those lines in Europe which are guarding and attack dogs without any basic training, and it being taken into a pet home, it could be a little stronger in the head than a dog which is for generations been bred for shows and for family and stuff. But at any given time, the European dogs are great with family too, and they're very good also. It's the working line dogs which are a little stronger in their head.
And how are Dobermans with other dogs, with puppies, as well as other animals? Because in India we have a lot of animals that we encounter at every walk of life.
Yes.
Maybe a donkey on the road, or a cow, or a
Yes.
goat, or something. So, what
Yes.
are the precautions one would take in those circumstances?
Other than a golden retriever and a Labrador, those dogs who are okay with all these animals, a Doberman will be all right too. But from a young age, if he's socialized and if he's shown them and he grows around them, he's fine. And the same thing, but a male Doberman dog kept away from all other dogs, or a female, and so a Doberman dog definitely needs a lot more socializing at a younger age to be all right with other breeds and other dogs. But that you have to start from a young age. But from a young age, I've seen Dobermans in America and in Europe in their kennels where there are 15, 20 Dobermans just left loose in their kennels, and they walk around their yards with their breeder, and they're all fine. But the thing is, these dogs from a very young age have been socialized with other bigger dogs, and they have a pecking order there. And so as long as he's socialized from a very young age, I think a Doberman can get along with other dogs, with horses, on stud farms, in dairies. There have been Dobermans who are ordered with cows. But that has to start at a very young age.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Deepak Narayan Swami has been giving me the breakup of dilutions and everything. So I see that, and thank you so much. Yeah. And Jaya Prakash, hello. Joseph, hi. I see you all. Yes, Minas.
Yeah. It has been said that the Doberman is not a dog for everyone. Is this true, and why?
It is not the dog for everyone, yes, but not because of temperament at all. Not Doberman basically is a dog who needs a lot of exercise. You can't coop him up in a place, and you can't keep him on a chain, and you can't because that builds on the aggression in him, because he gets so upset and in his head. So a Doberman is a dog for people who love dogs and who can spend time with their dog, who can take them out for a run, who can throw a ball with them. Basically, a lot of interaction with your dog. If you don't have time for that, then you would rather keep a smaller dog, because the Doberman definitely needs a lot of interaction, human interaction, and everything. I have another comment, Minaz, from Jaya Prakash. Hi, are Dobermans most susceptible to heart issues than any other breed? If yes, then why? Heart issues in Doberman is a problem now. All of us as breeders are trying to resolve that, Jaya, all over the world. But there are a lot of other breeds too who have heart issues. Dobermans have that as an issue, but if you have your heart test done for your stud dog being used, if you go to a breeder, we try and do all that. But having said that, it reappears. So even I've tested my dogs in America for their heart and have them all cleared and stuff, but it reappears. It is there. It is an issue which we have to deal with, but it is nothing more than a lot of other breeds too. It is not especially susceptible to heart issues. So it is as much as a lot of other breeds, but you have to be careful. I have lost dogs myself because of heart issues, but that's only one. In all my life, I've lost only one dog with a heart issue. That doesn't mean the others don't have it, but we try our best to breed to dogs and to test them in America whenever I send them there. In India, we don't have tests yet for a heart for a Doberman, but hopefully we can resolve that too. I hope that answers your question.
People buy Dobermans for the wrong reasons. Now, the wrong reasons are part of what you have said. They're not prepared to exercise. They're not prepared to train the dog, etc., etc., etc. They wanted, बेटे के लिए चाहिए, बच्चे के लिए चाहिए, क्रिसमस गिफ्ट के लिए चाहिए. You know,
Not only that, Minas,
it's,
there are people who will call and say that I still have a lot of people. I want my dog for guarding purposes in my
yeah,
thing.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
People ask me also, how do I make my dog aggressive? So
Yeah.
I mean that's a question that one would rather not take up with them because they will not understand. But one does have to impart certain bit of knowledge. But we'll come to that a bit later. Now
Yeah.
let's go on
So
to the health issues.
One sec, I just have a few people asking for comment.
Sure. Yes, please.
There's Sigyn Joseph. Hi, Sigyn. The difference between a Doberman and a Doberman Pinscher, there's no difference. The Doberman Pinscher, because they used German Pinschers initially, that Louis Donald Doberman used German Pinschers, and he started off from there. So they called it the Doberman Pinscher. Now it's the same thing. Now they've removed the Pinscher and it's called only a Doberman. It is one of the. There is no difference between a Doberman and a Doberman Pinscher. Thank you. Now, Smithily, you tell me that my Doberman female puppy, 4 months old, never wants to play nicely with a male lab puppy, 6 months old. She only wants to nip him hard, and they have been together since early age. We live in an apartment. Now, Dobermans, now what can I say about this? She must be playing hard because Doberman do play hard. When I have my dogs here who are 4 months old and 5 months old as pups, as Dobermans, they fight. They even get into scraps and they have these scars on their face, just nips, but they sleep together straight after that. The dogs have a lot more energy than a lab in that sense, and they're more of a working dog. So they play harder than a Labrador. But I'm sure she means no harm and she won't aggressively attack him. As she gets older, to 7, 8 months, they do calm down. But at a young age, at 4 months, Dobermans play hard with each other. Even a Doberman to a Doberman, when I have them at home, like I said, they have scars on their body, and when you throw a ball, they both go for the ball. If one gets the ball, the other goes for that, and then you have to be there to correct them. If you correct them and say, no, that's wrong, and just with voice modulation, that won't be an issue at all, and that will be sorted out. But remember, a Doberman is not a Labrador. They play harder than a Labrador, but you should keep correcting her, and she will learn, but it will never go to a level where she's going to injure the lab. They just play harder, and that's normal for a Doberman. Thanks, Mithili. Yes,
okay. Okay. Now let's get on to the health segment. This is another very important.
You were talking about people buying Dobermans for a wrong reason.
For the wrong reason, yeah.
Exactly. Now,
yes.
Yeah, that's a very important one from Minaz. A lot of people still call me, and I'm sure a lot of other breeders like Minaz too, and they say we want a Doberman to attack, and we have a house and we want him locked up in a kennel, and in the night we want to leave him out so that spoils the name of a Doberman. Now, what it does to a Doberman is it brings out all the wrong instincts in him. Now, he's left alone all day, lonely, either chained up or in a dark kennel. So when he's left loose, he attacks because he's more scared about himself more than anything else. And it could be, so people should buy a Doberman if they have time for a Doberman. If you have the time for a Doberman, he's the most loyal dog. For me, there's no better dog than a Doberman in terms of loyalty. He stands by the family. He's protector of the family. Still, he's so affectionate, and he can sleep with you on the bed, and he comes and they just want to be petted and petted and petted. So I think overall he's a great dog, but he shouldn't be bought, like Vinaz said, for the wrong reasons. He shouldn't be bought to be an attack dog and stuff like that. He will protect you all. He can be trained to attack. Now, the thing about the Doberman is he's highly trainable. So they can be trained to attack. They can be trained. So it depends how you want your Doberman and what you want to train for. That's why the police used him. A lot of wealthy people have them as watchdogs, where they're trained to attack dogs. But a Doberman born by himself can be as loving as any other dog. Yeah.
A word of caution here. Please don't try it at home unless you are an experienced trainer and you know how to handle a Doberman. Because
Yes.
remember one thing, once you set a Doberman in attack, you have to be sure that he's going to come back immediately on the recall. Otherwise, it's a dangerous situation to get into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And then there's couple, the high couple, and so Mithili, I hope I answered your question. And yeah, anyone else there? We have, yeah, Minas, you can go on.
All right, let's move on to another important segment, health. You've touched upon on the issue of heart problems.
Just a second, there's Shijin Job, and she asked me what the best diet for a dog that can have in India. We'll get to that. We will get to that when we have a segment for food and diet and everything. We will get to that. So if you can wait on and you can ask me the question again at that point of time, I will answer that. Thanks.
Okay. You touched upon the heart issues that a Doberman has. Are there any other genetic issues specific to the breed?
Yes, they have VWD, that's a von Willebrand's disease. Now that is a blood disease. It is a blood disorder, but they have tests for that too in America. So you either clear, or you're a carrier, or you're affected. Now, when you breed, we don't breed to a dog who's affected. We can breed to a carrier, but never a dog who's affected. Now, what this does is, it's a blood disorder. When they have a wound, or when you are doing a surgery on them, if they have a accident, the blood doesn't clot. So that is another issue we have with the Dobermans. Yeah, so that is another one. We do get deafness very rarely in Dobermans, like every other breed, but hips, Dobermans we don't really have hip dysplasia, which is a problem with Dobermans, but good breeders will have their dogs hip scored again, what we do when a semi-dog milk, and we try and breed to dogs with good, strong hips.
We don't have these testing available here in India, do we?
We do have them. You could take your dog down to check the hips, but hip scores as such haven't started. But you can go to a hospital when you do have a hip issue where they do take an X-ray. It's an X-ray is taken, but the scoring of the hip and stuff which is done, I don't think we have doctors who've started that. But it's not that difficult to start. I'm sure it will happen in course of time. Yeah.
What are the common health issues that a Doberman has, apart from the specific health issues? And how susceptible are they to the general health problems faced by many dogs, irrespective of breed? Generally,
they don't have. If you ask me, a Doberman has zero health issues if you have them as a pet at home, because they keep good coat. They don't have canker of the ear. They don't have. I've never had any issues with my normal health issues. I've had dogs who've lived 13 years and who just had their regular shots every year, and they don't really have issues. Minaz, I've heard of skin issues here and there, depending on where the dog is and the color of the dog. The brown dogs don't do too well in places where it's very humid or closer to the sea, like a Chennai and Calcutta. The browns do suffer a little there, but I don't think there are any issues, any common health issues. Doberman is quite free of most health issues.
Does the sun affect a brown Doberman?
The sun does. What the sun, if you have a brown Doberman and if you don't let him out in the sun, and for instance, if he's out only in the nights or the dark, his coat does get a little deeper brown because it doesn't get bleached by the sun, basically. But if he's out in the sun is very good for them. He just goes a few shades lighter, and but browns keep very good coat in tropical countries too.
Okay. Well,
yeah, hi Kapil. Gaurav, hi. I see you all. Hi. I have another question, Minaz. One sec from.
Yes, please go ahead.
Spartans Greek. Hi. Can you be specific on the anatomical features of the breed once you judge the breed. Now, the breed as such, it's not any different from any other breed. We do have a breed standard, like every breed does have a dog standard. A Doberman has a standard too. So we as judges try to breed the dog against the standard, and the dog which is closest to the standard wins the best of breed for that day. Now, if you Google Doberman breed standard, you can go to that standard, and we judge dogs against the standard, or the dog closest to the standard. I hope that answers your question. If you want specifically, I will have to go through the whole standard, so that will take time. But if you go through the Doberman standard, we breed against the standard. Thanks.
Since you're talking about standards, is there any
Yes.
difference between the American and, say, European and Indian standards?
In India now, we do follow the FCI standard, which is the European standard. Many years ago, we used to follow the Britain. We used to follow the English standard, and of course, there's an American standard. There's no big difference in the standard if you do to look at it from an American to a European. The Americans are more relaxed about their dentition and color, where they do, if your dog has a missing tooth or 2 missing teeth, the standard says up to 4 missing teeth is permissible. But the Europeans are more strict about dentition and color and the tan markings on the dog. So basically, it's color. But if you look at the standards, if you compare them with each other, the weight and both say a medium-sized dog. So that way, they're quite close. But the interpretation of the standard, of course, is left the Europeans have taken it a little differently than the Americans. Now, everyone can interpret the standards. You can use it, and you can still say my dogs are within the standard, but it's interpreted a little differently in these two countries.
What is your personal opinion about full dentition?
I personally would try and breed to a dog with full dentition. As a breeder, as a judge, when I go to judge, it depends where I am judging. I've done Doberman specialties in Norway and Sweden and different parts of Europe. So there I will go strictly, and I will go by their standard and say I want all 42 teeth. But in America, because their standard says it's permissible, I can't penalize a dog with a missing tooth. But personally, I will not breed to a stud dog if he has a missing tooth, because I would rather not introduce something in my lines which I will not want at a later stage, or which may increase at a later stage. But while judging dogs, I have no problem. I have put up dogs with a missing tooth, but two dogs being equal as they are in the show ring, I would prefer a dog with full dentition.
Okay. Exercise and training. Another
Yes.
important segment, another important aspect in the Doberman.
Yeah.
It is said that the idle mind is a devil's workshop. And if you leave a Doberman without, the Doberman is a very highly energetic dog and very excitable with boundless stamina and an
Yes.
extreme desire to work and please its master.
Yes.
Not training or exercising the dog can lead to boredom, and this can be detrimental to the dog as well as the owners. So what form of exercise and training do you suggest?
You don't have to get worried that you bought a Doberman and he needs a lot of exercise. How a walk is good for you. If you get up in the morning and you go for a walk for a half an hour, 45 minutes, or 1 hour walk, that's all a Doberman needs to do with you too. He wants to come out, he or she wants to come out for a walk with you. He wants to be exercised, go out, look at the world around, and get back home. And you can throw the ball to him here and there. But if you don't have time to do that every day, a walk is essential. He also wants to get out of the house, because you get out of the house, whether you're a housewife or you're a homemaker or you go to work, you get out of the house and you're walking, you walk upstairs, you go here, you go there, and you get back home. So even if you're not exercising, your body is put through this through the day. Now, if a Doberman is, say, in an apartment, he doesn't know what to do. He's just stuck in the apartment. He's going to run around the apartment. He's going to chew some furniture. He's going to, because he doesn't know what he or she doesn't know what to do. So yes, you do need to exercise them like you exercise yourself every day. And I think it's a good reason for you to walk to, to take the dogs out, and you keep fit and the dog keeps fit. So yes, the Doberman does need exercise. The more the merrier. The Doberman, you can exercise him for 4 hours a day, and he or a dog or a bitch would love it. And but if you don't have the time, when you walk in the morning, you need to take him out, or someone in the family definitely needs to take the dog out for a walk, exercise the dog, or play with the dog with the ball. You play catch, play with the frisbee. So yes, a Doberman definitely needs exercise. He can't be chained or cooped up to a place, because that he's not a happy Doberman then.
Absolutely true. The Doberman is basically a gap. Yeah.
One second.
Carry
I
on.
have
Yeah.
Nihal, who says, hello, both of you. Could you give us a brief history of the evolution of the Doberman breed in India? Dogs, according to you, that have highly influenced the Doberman to see in our country today. Nihal, if you can bring this question back when we talk about shows and all later, we could possibly talk about this. Let's just go through this, and we can bring this up later. So if you can repeat this question later, or if I remember it, I will talk about that too. Thanks, Nihal. And one sec, Minaz, if there are any other questions. Naveen Bhimpal, you asked me about information for Mudol hounds. You could message your local club, or you can call me later. This is a Doberman discussion here, so I'll try and stick to that. But you're most welcome to mail me later, and I will reply to you with that. Anand has asked me, at what age is it advisable to start training Dobermans? You start training Dobermans from the time you get them 8 weeks or 9 weeks. That's basic training. He should know that, no, come here, he should respond, he should move towards you. When he moves towards you, give him a little tidbit. He needs to, so you can start from a very young age, but aggressive, good training in terms of exercise and training, we usually start at 6 months. Until then, just basic stuff in the house, fetch and this and that, and you can ask him to sit and stay, and you can start all that at a younger age. But if you want him to train as an exercise and that kind of training, aggressive training starts only after they're 6 months old. And the person who asked me about the Indian breeds, thank you, Rana, for that. If you go to Dogspot, there's an Indian dog breed link. So if you go to Dogspot, if you go to their website, you can go to the Indian dog breeds link there, and you also have a link for the Mudol hound. So if you can just go onto the Dogspot in site, you will get the Mudol hound from there too. Yeah, thanks. And Spartan, why brown has more skin issues than black and tan? It's Maxim Paul. Now you asked me that. Now, as I explained in the beginning, the number of hair follicles per square centimeter or per square inch in a brown is lesser than a black. So he has a thinner coat than a black. So when you have a thinner coat, you're more susceptible to infections and other skin issues. A thicker coat is a stronger coat. Let me put it that way. I hope that answers your question. Lakshmi, if about the food, I will answer that when we get to the diet. Yeah, Minas, you can go on.
Okay. In your experience,
yes,
do people obedience train their dogs, their Doberman specifically? And
yes.
Is obedience training for a Doberman absolutely essential? Because nowadays you only find people show training their dogs.
Yes.
Your views on that?
I myself have never obedience trained a dog, but I wish I did have the time to do it. I think if someone has the time, if you're retired, if you're a youngster and you have the time, you get no more joy than obedience trained Doberman. They love it. They thrive in that training. They're very fast learners, and I'm all for obedience training, and especially obedience training the way it's taught in in the Western countries. Here we use a lot more force on the dog. There it's all based on treats, and the way they train their dogs is fantastic. So I'm all for obedience training for a Doberman. Yes, if that answers your question, Minas.
What form of exercise should a Doberman be given to keep it at optimum level, both mentally and physically? People take their dogs cycling, they take them swimming, and various different sort of. Do you think cycling?
Yes.
Do you think cycling is a good exercise for a dog, for a Doberman?
A Doberman can be pushed to any kind of exercise, even if it's 4 or 5 hours a day. He's a strong dog. So any kind of exercise is good. They love the ones who are introduced to water at a young age. They love to swim. If you don't have the stamina to run with the Dobermans, you can hold him on the side with your cycle, and you can do that too. In India, it is not as easy because our roads are a lot more fuller. But if you can go to a park or a lonely road, you can cycle. So for me, any form of exercise for a Doberman is good, and he or she would love it.
Is swimming good for a Doberman?
Yes, as long as the place, the water where the Doberman swims, like any other dog, is good, clean water. And even if it's not that clean, as long as after he finishes his swim, he comes out, and like what you do after you swim in a swimming pool, you have a shower and you wash off the chlorine. The same thing, if you can do, swimming is a very good exercise for Dobermans.
The physical process of swimming for a dog is more suited, in my opinion, to possibly a Labrador. So does it spoil the movement, or does it mar the movement of the Doberman for a show Doberman?
There's no way that it's going to harm the movement at all, because in fact, when dogs have movement issues, if you swim them, it would only improve it. There's no way it's going to harm it, because there's no pressure on its feet or anything. It's just moving its hinds and its forelegs. So there's no harm. It's not a natural swimmer like a Labrador, but swimming is absolutely zero harm. Like how for humans, swimming is great for you, for your joints and everything. When you have Doberman with issues and Dobermans who are a little older, swimming will only help them. It's absolutely no harm. I have a lot of, Minaz, I have a lot of questions.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. I'm so happy we are getting a lot of questions.
Yeah. So Kunal, your thing is a white patch on Doberman chest. What can be the reason for this? Both male and females don't have it. So like I said, there is a white gene which is there in the Doberman, and that's how they bred a full white or a cream Doberman in America. And there were breeders who tried to breed that because, to say it's a rare breed and to make money. So you do have the white from a terrier, the terriers which were used then by Louis Doberman. We do have a little bit of white. So in Europe, if you have a small white patch on the chest, it's not acceptable. In America, it is, but we don't encourage it. But sometimes when you have a male and a female, both black, you do get a small white patch on the chest. But it does happen, and it is there in Dobermans, not in many of the European lines, but a few American lines and South American lines do have that white, and it does happen even if both parents are black, because they are carrying it from the grandparents or in their genes somewhere. I have another question from Advait. I saw your Dogman in showground. Skin condition is very good. Could you please tell me how you maintain the skin and what you feed and supplement? Okay, I'd rather take this now. There are a lot of people asking about a diet, and Avedi, there have been a lot of people in my time who've said that, including many old reputed breeders who've asked me, what do you do for your skin condition of your Dobermans? And such fantastic skin condition, you have a secret and stuff. I'll be honest with you, there's absolutely no secret I have for...
Sorry, Javinder, may I interrupt you for a minute?
Sure.
You have a lot of questions. You have some questions to answer, right?
Yes.
So can you spare me for 2 minutes? I have to answer nature's call. I can't help it. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'm an old man, diabetic, can't help it. Thank you.
So I'll answer this till then. Now, like any other breed, the coat condition of a dog only reflects what his internal condition is. So it's mainly with diet. And I feed my dogs with natural food, but there are some very good dog foods there who have omega-3 in them, and they have fish oils in them, which is good for the dogs. But for me, if you ask me, I think chicken skin is very, very good. Chicken skin and pork trotters, they are very good for skin. They improve the skin condition and the sheen of the skin. So basically, adding a little of this fat in their diet will definitely improve the skin condition. I hope that answers your question. I'll go to the next one. Shijin Job, you asked me, when you judge a Doberman, how important is the head factor in them? I have seen great American dogs with poor underjaw. So how relevant is head in judging as well as breeding a Doberman? Well, the head, like every other breed, is, like they say, the icing on the cake. It is always nice to have a very good, strong head. And when you judge a Doberman, every part you score a Doberman. So the head has points, and like every other part of the body, we don't like a weak head for sure. We wouldn't like a snipey muzzle. But you look at a dog as an entire dog. Now, you will not put up a dog because he has a beautiful head and a bad body. In fact, I would go the other way. When you have a great body with an average head, is a more effective Doberman, working Doberman, than a great head with an average body. Because if a dog doesn't have the body, he can't even reach the person he was supposed to put down, or he can't gallop to that person. So I think everything is important. You talk about the underjaw. There are American dogs who are weak in underjaw. Underjaw is a problem with Dobermans all over the world. Not a problem. You would want a good, strong underjaw. The European dogs have better underjaw than the Americans, but the American dogs do have good heads too. So, there are good dogs in America, there are good dogs in Europe too. I hope that answers your question. And Roshan Joseph, you asked me why in India health testing is not so popular. No one wants to check before breeding. Roshan, like a lot of other things, breeders aren't serious enough in India to have the dogs health tested. It's up to a breeder to health test the dogs. Neither do people who go and buy dogs from them. They don't ask for health tests too. So if there are enough people who go to buy dogs from breeders and say, we're not buying puppies from you all because you all have no health test at all, that will push them to do health tests. But people just want to go and pick up any dog overnight because it's Diwali, because it's a birthday, because it's New Year's, as gifts and stuff. So I think the onus is on owners at the end of the day to ask breeders that we want a puppy whose parents have been health tested. Once that happens, I think that will push breeders to go and get the dogs health tested, and that will help owners too. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Minaz, if you can go back now.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry, gentlemen and ladies, for my absence, but not that it mattered. Mr. Javinder Singh is taking care of you guys very nicely. My apologies. Okay. Now, where are we? Yeah, let me just collect my thoughts. Okay. How important is socializing for a Doberman, and what is specifically meant by this term? And when does socializing start?
Socializing starts, I think we spoke a little about this topic. Socializing starts from the time they're 8 weeks, from the time you separate the puppy from its mother and from the rest of the litter to your house. The more you socialize it, if you want your dog to be a dog who's only close to your family, and if you're on a farm and stuff, and you want your dog not to be like as a guard dog, then you will socialize the dog to the people in your house who you think the dog should know and everything, and your friends and everything. So socializing completely depends on how socialized you want your dog. Now, the more you socialize, the better. You have to expose your dog to different conditions and car rides, different animals, horses, cows. So it all depends, Minaz, what you want the dog for.
All right. What type of training is recommended for Dobermans? We've touched upon this a little earlier.
Yes.
And
Yes.
are there qualified trainers in India who are really qualified to impart this?
I don't. Doberman training, it depends what you want it for. Again, I said, if you want it for as a working dog, if you want it as a pet. So it all depends on what you want it for, Minas. And about trainers here, the police do have their trainers. There are not too many trainers in India. There are very few in India who I know of. So I think that is one department in India which can really be spoken about, and could be, there's a lot of chance for good trainers to come about. Of course, now there are people who are training dogs for the police, breeding dogs for the police and stuff, but there aren't as many as there should be, Minas.
Okay. Now, a very contentious issue
Yes.
around the world,
Yes.
cropping and docking.
Yes.
Okay. What do you feel about the docking and cropping issue that has created quite a debate with dog lovers?
Yes. The reason why the first Dobermans were cropped and docked was that it was a guard dog. So Louis Doberman thought in his head that we don't want anyone coming where he can grab the ears of the dog. And once you grab the ears of the dog, and if you're strong enough, the dog can't get its teeth on your hand. So he got the ears. So the initial reason for cropping and docking was so you can't hold the tail and swing the dog about, or you can't hold the ears. So that was the reason why it was initially started, where they had the ears would be cropped and there was no ear at all, hardly a ear. Now, because of aesthetics, they have longer crops, and the dog, of course, you still can't hold on to a dog. But that was the reason why it first started. I crop and dock my dogs. I think it looks nice, and it's done with under good conditions, with a vet and a anesthetist and everything. I have no issues with that, and people, I think, unnecessarily use dogs as a soft target, because there are sheep who are docked in millions and in horrible conditions all over the world, where they have hundreds and thousands of sheep in their farm with long tails. A few of you want to know that sheep have long tails, but people go around with a knife, and with a curved knife, and they just chop the tails off, and they singe them with a heated iron, and they're done in thousands. So no one speaks about sheep, no one speaks about anything else, and so I think dogs are just a soft target, and I'm all for docking and for cropping, though I have judged in Europe, and I have judged dogs, and I love the Doberman with his ears down and the tail too. But if you ask me for my personal opinion, I do like my dogs cropped and docked. So one second, Manaz, I have a question here from Harshit, who says, why owner handlers and judges claim Dobermans to be working breed, especially American type, but not a single ancestor in 5 to 7 generation has a single working title. Now, Harshit, now if you own a Doberman, and Doberman is capable of being trained to have a working title. Now, if there's someone who doesn't want to do it, he's free not to do it. He may have his dogs just as a pet and as a family dog. So, but the reason, even if they haven't been, any of the ancestors, 5-7 generations don't have a working title, you can still take a puppy from those parents and train that, because the Doberman is capable enough to be trained for a working title. So that's all it means. A Doberman could be a working dog if you want it to be. If you don't, you don't. So even if it's not for 10 generations, if it's not worked on, but it has the right conformation and the right temperament, you could start from the 11th generation. I hope that answers your question. Arun asked me, blue Dobermans are known to have sparse coats. Yes, I've spoken about that in the previously. And any do's and don'ts for mixed Doberman and Lab. So Malvika, that's your question. Any do's and don'ts for mixed Doberman and Lab? I don't encourage mixing any two breeds. These new breeds, Labradoodle and stuff. I think you would rather have, instead of that, you would rather adopt a nice indie. Regular dogs are stray dogs because they have good character in them at all. What happens when you breed two different skeletal systems? You can get all kinds of issues with the mouth and with other issues. So I don't encourage any kind of mixing of breeding. If it has happened by mistake, well, that's I can't comment about that. But I don't encourage any kind of designer dog being produced, which is very popular all over the world now. Thanks. Jamina, go on.
Yeah, and they sell for such a whopping price. I don't know
They
how
do.
people pay for that.
You're getting a mixed breed dog. That's it, and they just
You're getting a mixed breed dog. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, now you spoke about cropping and that's how you support it, right?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that your cropping is done under sterile conditions by a veterinarian using all the possible safety measures like anesthesia, etc., etc.
Yes.
Are there sufficient veterinarians in your place of residence, which is Bangalore?
Yes, we do have them, and they do do it. And I will. There's a question from Malvika. In fact, that's her opinion. She said, "I disagree. Looking nice is not reason enough." Well, Malvika, that is, you are entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. If you don't like your Dobermans docked or cropped, it's good for you. I like mine docked and cropped, and I will stick with that. Like I said, I enjoy them when they're not cropped and not docked too. But you should also remember we live in a world where people eat animals too. So if this is not, people can have a goat as a pet and be very offended because people are eating mutton or whatever your choice of meat is. So this is my opinion again. You're free to have your opinion, and I like having my dogs docked and cropped. Thanks.
Right. So we were talking about veterinarians, qualified veterinarians who do a good job of cropping. There are.
Yes.
In Bangalore.
Yes, there are a few vets who aren't doing it now because they said they have pressure from the veterinary, other veterinary things. But there are the ones who do it, and well, we don't have a problem in Bangalore.
Yes, you don't have a problem in Bangalore, but there are cities or places who are not that fortunate.
Yes.
And even if they are fortunate, like they call people from various other places of our country who are just dog fanciers, Doberman fanciers, not qualified, and they come to crop dogs.
Yes.
Do you think that's the right thing to do?
I would not. Well, I think that you need to be a doctor to give a dog its anesthesia and its cropping and everything. I don't know if there are people who are doing it, but it's again up to the people who have a litter of puppies. It's their choice how they want to be. They need to be responsible enough and do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough. Do you think they should be banned from doing that?
I wouldn't want to comment on that, Minaz. I think it's the livelihood of someone. I don't want to really.
All right, fair enough.
comment.
Fair enough. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Sorry, from Bipin Parmar, who says, "Why do Eurodog not win in Indian shows?" They will win, Bipin. If there's a European judge, he will put up a European. See, there are two different types of dogs. So if you have a European dog, if you're going to show him under an Australian judge and American judge, and there are American dogs, he's most used to that type. So choose your judges. There will be judges who will put up a European dog too. I, for one, I have my lines are more American and South American. But if I see a good European dog in the ring who fits the standard on that day, I will put him up over any other dog. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Manas.
India, perhaps, along with America and Serbia and maybe a few more countries, are the few countries that have not legislated the ban on docking and cropping.
Yes.
Why is that so?
Well, I'm happy they haven't. So, and I hope they don't. I'm going to fight in court myself.
Knowing your answer, which you gave Malvika, I think that was obvious, but I couldn't help asking that.
So I hope it doesn't happen. True to the breed, that's how they were done. You know, there's a history to all these breeds. There's a history why this is done, and I think.
Yes, I agree with you, Javinder. I myself, I have a cropped girl from you, and I've had a couple of dogs from you who have also been cropped. And but my whole thing is that when the Doberman started, because Otto Geller and Louis Doberman, they cropped the dogs. The cropping was very short. Today you find that cropping is becoming longer and longer, not in proportion to the head.
Yeah, like I said, it's a personal choice again. Now,
it's a personal choice. But you know, anyway, I remember when you first started in Dobermans, I vividly recall some of your earlier Dobermans that were uncropped.
Uncropped,
Why then did you make this paradigm shift to cropping?
I did
like it.
Yeah, I did crop my first litter. The second litter, I think you're talking about Jaspar's Bacchus, who was
Jaspar's Daiquiri.
So that one litter wasn't docked because I guess I didn't have the time that time to look after them. But I did show them, and I did show them successfully. Like I said,
and he won the Dog of the Year bred in India.
So you can show it. I would put up a dog,
certainly,
an uncropped dog over a cropped dog if he's a better dog. So it doesn't make a difference to me. I hope that
I agree.
Question that yes, you can show with the natural ear and the natural tail now in India, but it again it depends on the judge who's judging on that day. Yeah.
Okay. Grooming. I don't know how much time we have left, but does the Doberman need grooming?
Not much.
And what type of grooming does it need?
Not much grooming at all. It's like any regular dog. You got to clean its ears, its teeth, and the coat as such needs no grooming at all if it's a pet dog. For shows, yes, if there are any hair, which is sticking out from the loin part, which is that you could just get those in line with the underbelly and from the tail as well. But grooming as such, no. The Doberman has minimal grooming, just like any other dog. It's nails, its ears, and its mouth. That's it.
Okay. Do they shed a lot?
Not a lot, but they do shed like any other dog, but not a lot. But the coat is
so a daily like any other dog, a good daily grooming.
They don't have an undercoat. They don't shed as much as a Labrador who has a short coat and stuff. They don't have an undercoat, so you just have to rub them down, and what hair comes out. They don't. Ideal for an indoor dog.
So there's no need for a Doberman to visit a groomer and pay lots of money for that. You can do it at home.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Let's go to breeding, your favorite subject.
Yes, I'll just answer Seema's question here. Seema, you say the Spaniels are no longer dogs, which is really nice. Yes, they look very nice because they have their coat on their tail and all. But the reason Spaniels used to be dog, Seema was, again, when you go back, they had those long tails, and when they used to go into the brush, because they're gun dogs, they go into the brush, their tails used to get hurt with the thorns and the other bushes around. So when they used to be worked, they needed to be docked. Yes, they have a straight tail, and it doesn't look bad. It looks nice. But if you have a working spaniel, even now, if you do work your dog like they do in Europe, you will have to because the tails do get injured, and that was the reason why they did it. But I do agree with you. Spaniels look very nice with their tails long. Yeah. Yes, Minaz.
Okay. Give us your views on breeding. General overview.
Yeah, I think breeding.
Should a female question? Should a female be bred from? And what is the criteria for breeding a female? Because we find sometimes people take a male and a female, cross them.
See, the word breeder, I feel, is a very abused word in the sense that everyone is called a breeder. A breeder, actually, if you look at the definition of a breeder, he or she is someone who's trying with every litter they have to improve the breed in some way or the other. To the faults which are prevalent in his lines, he's trying to get those out. So that's what a breeder is. It's not that you just have a litter at home and you're a breeder. No, I call them multipliers. They're just multiplying the
absolutely
number of the breed. But a good breeder will try and improve whichever the breed be. He will try and reduce the negatives in his breed which he has at home and try and push the positives and breed to a dog outside who's a great dog who can probably give him better puppies than he already has. So that's what a breeder is. Now you don't have to breed a bitch who's a pet. Now people say we should have at least one litter, or a male we should mate him at least once. They don't know. So you can have a dog or a bitch at home who's never ever mated with another bitch, or who's thinking you can have them spayed. Even if they're not spayed, they don't miss it in any which way. So that is what we have to be clear about. And I think everyone should try and breed a bitch who is a good bitch and who can give good puppies and try and take the breed forward. That should be a reason for breeding.
And that's where phenotype and genotype comes in.
Yeah, genotype and phenotype. Yes. So that's where that comes in. So you breed a dog who has a good genes behind him, who has good lines behind him, and a phenotype, and he looks good too. So you can have, sometimes you do have puppies from a litter of highly pedigreed dogs, but who are substandard puppies. Every puppy doesn't have to be nice. So now those shouldn't be, you could get a good litter from that, but sometimes a bitch who's not big enough, and you would rather not breed her or a dog who doesn't have a good phenotype. Yeah, so I would look at my strongest girls and strong boys to breed from, to try and improve the breed.
Now, how do you establish your strong girls and your strong boys? Is it because of the shows, because of the winnings in the dog shows, or on what criteria do you use?
Not only the winnings. Winnings is one of it, to prove that your dog, that you go to shows because you think that you have a great dog at home. It's like having a child in the house who's a great sprinter. So you take him out to sport and you make him run. You think, hey, my son runs great and he has a good chance. So you have a dog or a bitch at home who you think possesses the what is there in the standard to go and show himself or her off. So you take those dogs too. So it goes hand in hand. But even if you don't breed a bitch, even if you don't show a bitch or a dog, sometimes it could be a pet dog at home, but who has some good breeding qualities. So doesn't have to be shown, but showing obviously proves a point and to people that you do have a good dog.
In horse breeding, we have a maxim or a mantra or leave it at that, which says the female tail line has to be the strongest.
Yes.
Do you agree for dogs also?
Yes, I do think females are not given enough credit than they should, especially in dogs. Everyone just talks about the male and the sire and the sire and the sire all the time. But remember, it's a 50-50%. A sire can do nothing without a great bitch. So a female is as important, and for breeders like me, more important than a dog, because you can have a great female at home who can give you good puppies, even with a dog who's not as good as her. So I definitely lay more emphasis on a good brood bitch. Any
other advice that you would like to give breeders who may be tuning in?
I got a message here from Madhusudan Gaur. He says, "What are your views on line breeding? You must line breed, not inbreed, because you are breeding to a type of dog. But you should also see what problems your dog have and what genetic faults, if any. You should be careful when you line breed. But I do think, like for horses and cows and everyone, you have to breed in line to keep the type, to keep the dominant genes there. You have to breed to that type. And can you expect a good healthy litter when one of the parents is 6-7 years old? A 6-7-year-old male is still can be used as stud and will be a very good stud. 6-7 years, for me, my opinion, for a bitch is old, and she will not be able to look after the puppies as well. I think a good age to breed a bitch is between 2 and 4 years old, and upper limits to 4, 4.5, or 5. But more than that is, for me, my opinion, is a no to breed a bitch.
I'll give you guys a tip over here. You know what Javinder does to his females who are above 5 years old? They come to me.
Yeah. So I just breed my girls just twice in their lifetime, because I think that's good enough for them. And but I have nothing against people who do it more. But for me, I don't breed that often, so I can't have so many litters from one bitch.
But the optimum age for females to be bred is between up to 4 or 5
2
years.
and 4, yeah, 2 and 4, upper limits 5 from me. And I don't think you should. I don't think you should have more than 3 or maximum 4 litters from a bitch in her lifetime. Well, that's again my opinion.
I do recall that you normally have 2 litters from your girls.
2, yes.
And
yes,
maybe upper limit 3 maybe
if
1 litter. I mean, make an exception.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone through the breeding. We've got your views. We've got, should a female be bred from? What steps, precautions, and care is needed for a female when she's being mated and bred, having a litter?
Like I compare my dog to humans too. Like a pregnant woman, all the care she takes, that's the same thing you would do to a dog too. She has to be rested enough, not over-exercise. Diet is very important, and it's a long topic, but a pregnant bitch, like a pregnant woman, needs to take all the care you can with her. I have a message from Tamal Roy. Hi Tamal, you say which one point do you think we have lots of room for improvement in India? I think in India we don't have enough seminars. I think we need to have a strong parent body, like a Doberman club or even the All Breeds club. We need to have a lot more seminars to educate people. I think that's a huge room for improvement, so that breeders can learn from experienced breeders. We can call people from abroad to speak about breeding and dogs and breed improvement. So I think that is the hugest room for improvement, is that we need to speak to people and have more seminars on breed type and puppy rearing and stuff like that. I think that definitely calls for room for improvement. Yeah, Minaz?
We had a question earlier on diet.
Yes.
Could you give us some details on that?
Yeah. So what was it? It was diet for the dog. Now it depends how much. See, we follow the West and we say that we have to give a dog to dry food because that is the best. I completely disagree. In the Western country, the reason they opt for dry food is that raw material cost of meats and everything is very high, and they don't have labor enough to cook and to wash and to do all of that. But I, for one, encourage people who give fresh food. Dogs enjoy their meat and their rice or their whatever your carbohydrate source is. My dogs are fed on chicken, on beef, on fish, on eggs, and they enjoy it, and they're in great condition. Not taking anything away from the dry foods. If you don't have the time, there's some good dry foods there, and you must use them. I use them for my puppies when they're growing up, and for show dogs because you travel so much and you can't cook. So it is very good, but it's your choice what you want to do. But both is good, dry food or your own wet food, provided you put it down and you know the amount of protein, carbohydrate going into your dogs with the vitamins and omega-3, for all. If you keep all that in mind, and if you have the time and the energy to do it, you could use wet food too.
Do you give fish to your dogs?
Nihal Narayan asked me off the topic, but he says, when will Javinder uncle have a Facebook account? I don't think...
Never.
I don't think I will have a Facebook account, Nihal, but you have my numbers, and all of you all have my number too, so you're most welcome to message me and to speak about any topic which is in the doggy world. Yeah, I would be most happy to do that. But no, I don't think I will have have a Facebook account, Nihal. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you give fish to your dogs?
Yes, I give my dogs sardines because they're very good, and they used to be cheap. They're not cheap anymore, but not
cheap anymore. Yeah.
But not too much of fish. You can say a sardine and a half for a dog every day, I think works great for their coat and their coat condition. Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think we'll come to our last segment of the evening.
Yeah.
And that is dog shows.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have covered most of the general topics. So if I have missed out on anything, Javinder, please feel free to.
Well, I'm going to the questions now too. I think Nihal had asked us the influential dogs in our country. There's another one. Can you tell us about Dexter's success? I don't want to go on that, but yeah, let's finish this. If we have for the time, we can go ahead with more questions. Yeah. So the shows you were talking about, Minaz. Yeah, shows for me are very, very important, like every other part of the world. But shows, I think there's huge room for improvement in India. We need more specialty shows. Specialty shows are very important. That's when you have judges who can come and judge the breed and can speak to you about the breed. I don't think we have enough specialty shows in the country. And what shows do for a breed is what they're supposed to do, at least, when for a layman should be able to say that such and such a dog has won that many best of breeds under these judges from these different parts of the world, and I will use that dog. So what shows are basically meant to improve on the breed, and I think we need to take it in that spirit too, because there are judges who come and people get upset that they haven't put their dog which they think is the right, but you must speak to the judge, and judges should encourage people to speak to them so they can explain to you why they put up that dog, and possibly you will agree with them, and if you don't, you can go home too. But always remember that a show is a matter of opinion, and it is the opinion of the judge on that day, and you can like it or not like it, but that judge was called for his or her opinion, and I think that should be respected on that day.
you used to be a prolific exhibitor in
Yes.
days of yore.
Yes.
You have reduced your participation in these shows, not only
Yes.
as an exhibitor, but also as
Yes.
a judge.
Yes.
And why is that so?
Well, I used to show a lot when I was single. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. So that's one of the reasons that work and family took the precedent. Also was I realized there were a lot of judges. I choose my judges who I want to show my dogs under. We do have judges coming from countries where they don't even have one Doberman in their shows, or they don't know Dobermans, and or they aren't. Well, they should if they're all breed judges. But then I don't really would. I would like to show my dogs under judges who I feel know a lot more about the breed and would enhance my breeding program. So that's why I don't show very often. It's for those two reasons, and I've started judging in different parts of the world too. So that takes time. So I can't take so much time off. I have two young boys, and they have their sports and everything. So I'm quite involved with that too. So that's the reason I don't show very much myself. Though my dogs have been shown in America, and a couple of my dogs have been the first dogs in Asia to ever win best in shows in America and groups in America. So I do try and show a few of my dogs in America, but in India, not as often as I used to, or I would like to.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of your dogs,
Yes.
champion Jaspar's Destiny's Child, Donnie,
Yes. Yes.
set some sort of a record in America. Can you tell us
Yes.
more about that?
Well, not so much of a record in America, but a record from India. He was the first dog from
India,
Asia,
yes.
Doberman, who went on there to be in the top 20 dogs there. He won an all-breed Best in Show, Reserve Best in Show, many groups. He beat many top dogs there. So I think it was more of a record for us in India and Asia, but he did do well in America. America, for me, is a very competitive country for Dobermans. It's very hard to win a best of breed even now. You can become a champion a lot easier, but to win a best of breed is very competitive. It is probably the single most competitive breed in America now and for many, many years. And the American National, Dobe National has 500 dogs, and so yeah. So Donnie, as in Destiny's Child, did do very well for me and for my kennel. And I'll answer another question. Minaz has gone off. Which one is there? I'll try and take one. As a judge, could you please share some ideal Dobermans which you have seen, show and health-wise, Latin and American or European? There have been a lot of dogs which I have seen in America and stuff. A lot of the top Dobes in America are all very nice. Agado was one of them, which was Donnie's father, who had a fantastic front. And a lot of the Dobermans in the world now are lacking good fronts. They have problems with shorter upper arms and stuff. And I think that is a neglected part of a Doberman, a good front. People look into top lines and hinds and stuff, but the fronts are quite ignored. And yeah, so that was that from Roshan. Why Seema asked me, why are fines not as popular as they were in the 80s and 90s? What are fines? I don't know what are fines. I don't know what. If you can please elaborate on that, Seema. I don't know what you mean. Oh, sorry. She's repeated that question. She said, sorry, that Dobermans are not as popular as they were in the 80s and 90s. I think in India there's every breed goes up and down. Like you had the pugs after the ads, which did come out and they got so popular. So it goes around in circles. But Dobermans, I would say, because a lot more people live in apartments now, people don't have individual houses, they don't have as much time. I think that's the reason why. But there's no reason why they shouldn't, because Doberman make great apartment dogs and great companions. But I agree with you, they have dropped in popularity all over the world. In fact, even in America, they have. I think it's because of a lot more the demands of the world today, and people living in apartments and studio apartments and stuff, so they rather keep a smaller dog. I think that is one of the main reasons why Dobermans are not as popular. But if you do go to shows, Seema, Dobermans are still the number 2 breed in numbers in many shows, number 2 and number 3 breed. So they're quite popular, but I hope they get a lot more popular in time. Minaz is not online, so I'm going to take a few more questions. I think we are a little out of time, but I will think what food and vitamins are required to make a Doberman's coat shine. I mentioned that earlier. Any good food, a mix of food, whether it's dry or stuff, but for a coat, mainly it's your omega-3 and your oils, which are good for coat. So any food which has that, be it fish or chicken skin or pork trotters, including them in your dog's diet will definitely make a difference to its coat and coat condition. I don't know if you have any more time. I don't know. I should speak to the Dogspot people and ask them if I can go on, because we're over time. Are there any more questions which I haven't answered? Thank you to Seema, and so thank you, Tamal. It was good talking to you too, and nice hearing from you. All right, and if we are done with this chat, anyone any more questions, or you are free to call me and or email me at any point with questions. Email is better. I may take a little time to answer them, but I will for sure. And you are most welcome to be in touch. Okay, Rana says he doesn't mind as far as I'm okay with with going on. Well, if you have any more questions, I can hit on topics too. I think regional clubs should hold more seminars too about the Doberman, and call people, and interested people can come. And the only way we learn more about dogs is if we talk. I, for one, I'm always there. You can call me. I can speak about a lot of other breeds too. The basic conformation of dogs, because you should always remember, whether it be a Chihuahua or a Great Dane, they have the same number of bones. It's the same skeleton. One is small and one's big. So every dog is quite similar in that sense from their skeletal system. And so I think if we can talk more, discuss more, that will do owners, breeders, and exhibitors a lot more good. So Mayur, you're on. You asked me, what is your opinion and suggestions of standard and breeding program of new breeders for improving standard in our country? So Mayur, if you're a new breeder, you need to have a mentor, first of all. So look for a mentor and people who have been breeding earlier, and the reason you want to breed, and so to start breeding, you should know the standard yourself. You should learn the standard by heart, know what you're breeding for. Try and improve the breed, try and look at the good stud dogs around, try and get a good puppy bitch for yourself, which you can, with the right lines, with the right genotype and a phenotype, which will give you good pups. So try and improve the breed, and it is always good to have more breeders. The more the number of good breeders, the stronger the breed gets. And I think we should have more breeders, but you try and if you don't know everything about it, try and get a mentor, a local judge who's there, or anybody else who you think could mentor you, and if they can give you suggestions and if you can learn a lot more, why not? I think anyone who is interested should have a good breeding program. All right, so that's there. And one more thing, I again want to say that a Doberman is a fantastic dog. Don't go by what people say, that it's an aggressive dog and it's not good for kids. I had my boys grow up with Dobermans. I have a son who's 13 and one who's 9 now. But from the time they're 2 and 3, the Dobermans were always around them. They were hugging them and kissing them and stuff. So it's a fantastic family dog. And I don't know how many Doberman breeders were on this, but Tamal, you are one of them, and of course, Minaz. But we should try and educate people about Doberman. It's a fantastic dog. And if you ask me, for my best case scenario, I would want every city and every pet lover to own a Doberman, because that's how beautiful the breed is. And even if you don't go for shows, once you have a Doberman in your house, for instance, I have a breeder in America who used one of my dogs while he was there, Jaspar's Hunter's Moon. She's one of the top breeders for mini schnauzers in the world. She's 80 years old, and she told me, I may have mini schnauzers, but I will. And so she had a champion bitch which she used to my dog, and she said, I will always have one Doberman in my house. And for the past 50, 60 years, I have always had a Doberman. I can't live without a Doberman. So there are a lot of breeders like this who have some other breed, but who keep that one Doberman in the house, because they say when you keep a Doberman, you always want a Doberman all your life. The affection it gives you, and it's all it's great to have a Doberman. So encourage people, have more Dobermans, speak to people, and if you want any help from me, you're most welcome. I just see Ratan Sharma. Yeah, hi Ratan. It's well, I hope you were there through the session. We can keep speaking about Dobermans for hours together. It's something I love, and I consider myself a custodian to the breed. So you in Calcutta are doing a good job there too, and good having you over, and it was nice having you all. Anything else? Jaspreet, hi Jaspreet. Glad that you were on the forum too. So all of you all again, great meeting with you all, and thank you to Dogspot and Sharath and Rana and all of you all. I think you all are doing a great job. It's the first time I'm on. I'm not much on social media at all, but when they told me it is for the breed and to do something to speak about the breed, I wouldn't let that go past. So thank you again to Dogspot for having me. You all are doing a great job. And if you'll hear from any one of these people, if they have any other questions for me, you all are most welcome to contact me, and I will answer them. All right. Take care. Bye, everyone.